morning, Barbara. Your first testifier, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Our first testifier is Jan Kama, and she will be speaking in opposition to Bill 292.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and council members. My name is Jan Kama, and my husband and I have been residents of Leilani Estates since 1991. We live 2.4 miles from Puna Geothermal Venture. My testimony today is submitted in opposition to Bill 292. I will be very brief. We ask why the chair would attempt to change drilling operations at PGV without first assessing the consequences of those actions, or if the council even had the authority to do so. This is another shot in the dark without researching the impact on PGV or the community. The geothermal resource permit under which PGV operates was issued by the Planning Commission. Noise permits have been issued by the State Department of Health, and drilling permits by DLNR. The Hawaii County Council does not have jurisdiction to amend any of these permits. PGV has complied with noise regulations and continues to implement best available technology. However, the overwhelming noise at night for most of us in the Puna community is the coqui frogs. We ask that you each be considerate, not just of your district, but of all the residents of the island of Hawaii, and vote no on Bill 292. Mahalo for your consideration.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Barbara, your next testifier, please.
Our next testifier is Marilyn Rankin, and she will be speaking in opposition to Bill 292.
Thank you. Good morning.
Aloha, Chairman, and aloha, County Council members, and my fellow residents. My name is Marilyn Rankin. I'm a proud resident of the District of Puna, and this letter or this testimony is in opposition to Bill 292, Draft 1. It is my understanding that this bill before the County Council is intended to restrict the drilling at the geothermal plant to the hours between 700 and 1900. It is also my understanding that this bill was introduced by Dominic Yagong, County Council Chair. I know that the Council is in receipt of a letter from Mr. Tanya, legal counsel for PGV. I also know that this letter clearly points out the fact that the County Council has no authority to make changes to the Geothermal Resource Permit. The Geothermal Resource Permit was issued under the authority of the County Planning Commission. The County Council does not have authority to control noise pollution. This is under the auspices of the Department of Public Health. Therefore, Mr. Yagong's bill is yet another waste of taxpayers' time and money. There are major operational safety and fiscal concerns implicated in ceasing drilling operations during the nighttime hours. But since all the County Council members are in receipt of Mr. Ye's letter, I will not go into these issues. You already know them. As a citizen and taxpayer of the state of Hawaii, County of Hawaii, and specifically the District of Puna, I question why Mr. Yagong has seen fit to introduce yet another bill which is directed at the citizens of a district for which he was not elected to represent. Once again, another bill from a resident of Hamakua and directed at the citizens of Puna. And once again, the result will further divide the citizens of Puna along adversarial lines. Only this time, the bill's proposed action isn't even legal. What the citizens of Puna need and want is not another bill to cripple the geothermal plant, which will end up increasing our electric rates. What we need is a bill to support a scientifically designed health study so we can find out why our friends and neighbors are getting sick. Then we will know the exact cause of the illnesses. Then we can fix the problem. Mr. Yagong, Mr. Fred Bloss is our elected representative. He does a fine job for us. Let him do his job and you do yours. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Let's move here to Hilo. Our first testifier is Mr. Lloyd Hariguchi to speak on Resolution 303-12 to be followed by Cory Harden. Good morning, sir. You can turn the microphone also. There's a face. There you go. There you go. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Yagong and members of the Council. I'd like to first say that I've submitted written testimony and would like to say that it stands as submitted. But would like to inform again the public that our next board meeting will be on October 11th, And the agenda items will request approval of the PLDC strategic plan and the draft administrative rules for PLDC. Now, the approval of the draft administrative rules will allow us to go out to public hearing after a minimum of 30 days after board approval. As the agenda items will be heard in October, we humbly ask that resolution 20312 be postponed. I'd also like to address some of the whereases in the resolution. The first whereas ignore community development plans due to HRS 171. Ignored development community plans is not ignored. Part of our mission is to create partnerships with county agencies. Community development plans and proposed projects should complement each other. And in the end, county has the option to attach conditions should they wish to. Number two, only revenue generated uses are specifically mentioned in HRS 171. So optimal use appears to be those businesses that can generate the highest amount of revenues, with no regard to parks or other types of community resources. I wouldn't say optimal use appear. It's just that it appears to be, is what it's saying. But Chapter 171C not only includes economics, but optimal use also includes environmental and social benefits to the people of Hawaii, which includes parks, schools, recreation areas. The third, whereas, in fact, I'd like to combine 3, 5, and 6, I've numbered them, and all dealing with affordable housing. I would like to just summarize and say that HHFDC is a state housing agency whose mission is affordable housing. They are much more experienced and have better tools to address affordable housing. We may provide assistance to them if they so desire to. So again, that responds to the development of residential units, will not provide fair share, affordable housing in the 60 to 100 million range, and where truly affordable housing may be built on the opposite side. Number 4 is the scarce supply of potable water could be diverted to these projects. Now, within the county, the Board of Water Supply controls the allocation. So again, this responds to the scarcity of water should it be one. The Board of Water Supply will dictate if projects can move forward in essence. If there's no water, there's no project. Number 7, large ag businesses using GMO crops may be instituted in public trust lands. To respond, the use of land can be a condition imposed by the title agency. Checks and balances provided for when making requests to the title agency. I provided the members a chart which you can refer to, and if you have any questions on that, we could discuss that later. Number 8, HRS 171 allows ceded land to be used for homes for our families, but for revenue production for the state. Yes.
Sorry. I do need you to summarize. However, are you going to be here for the discussion of this item?
Yes, I will.
Very good. But I do need you to summarize at this time, so we can move on to the next section.
Okay.
But we'll call you back up.
All right. So in summary, I would like to just say that we presented written testimony and gone over the various whereases, and we asked that Geoff rules be postponed until we have time to have our meeting at PLDC.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your testimony.
Mr. Chair, we ask that Mr. Hariguchi be available if 303 is called to approve.
Yes, say it. He indicated he will be available. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bulago. Our next testifier is Cory Harden to speak on Resolution 311 and also Resolution 303. Good morning.
Good morning. Cory Harden speaking for myself on Resolution 303 to abolish the Public Land Development Corporation. I'm glad Mr. Hariguchi took the trouble to come to an outer island. I'm glad to see PLDC kind of downplaying things a bit, but it doesn't go far enough. It needs to be abolished. It has too much power. For this please consider two amendments. Urge PLDC not to commit the state to anything until we see if the 2013 legislature abolishes them. We don't want to get entangled in a whole bunch of things that then can't be done. Also, I hope PLDC will hold hearings on all islands when they revise their rules, not just in Honolulu. Last week, Hawaii became the second county in Hawaii after us to officially oppose PLDC with a unanimous vote. Gary Cruiser, a former Hawaii County Council member, former state senator, and current head of the State Office of Environmental Quality Control, OEQC, he spoke to the Hawaii Council as an individual. He called for repeal of PLDC. He said his office depends on comments and permits from other agencies so they can uphold state environmental laws, but PLDC would bypass these agencies. Laura Thieglin, former director of the Department of Land and Natural Resources, DLNR, has said it looks like the plan is to stop funding DLNR with general fund revenue and instead use revenue from PLDC projects, but that revenue is a lot less reliable. In the last legislative session, some bad things happened for our island for PLDC. PLDC kind of took over a House bill which started out as a bill for a marina for Honolulu Harbor to improve like restrooms and garbage pickup and the water system and lights. Already it was a bad bill that environmentalists did not support, and PLDC made it worse, turning it into a bill to transfer development rights for over 200 acres around the harbor to PLDC. Supporters of the original bill said they were not consulted about the changes, and they were dismayed to find out the final bill does nothing to benefit the harbor. Fortunately, it looks like there's plans aren't going forward and that our planning department would be able to stop it and would stop it anyway. On resolution 311 about League of Women Voters recommendations on the primary election. Somebody needs to investigate events before, during, and after our troubled primary election. Please consider contacting Marian Higa, the state auditor, or maybe a federal agency, because like nobody else is stepping up. The governor's office said it would be the constitutional amendment to investigate. The state attorney general said, no, we didn't think any of the irregularities would affect the final results. I think they would, but more later. The state elections commission just refused to investigate to avoid more friction. Well, friction is their job. They said they don't want to complicate the November election, but if they do a decent investigation, it would run past November. The state elections office did an investigation in 4 days. That's not an in-depth study. Now, they've taken over the November election from the county, but they haven't said if the county or state workers will conduct the election. There's an oversight. They're blaming everything on Janae Kawauchi, didn't attend all workshops, not talking to the state and media enough. She suggested untried procedures and had no action plan. I look forward to Janae's response. She has acknowledged some missteps, but there are plenty of things she did not cause. There's the alleged drinking parties and private business activity at the elections warehouse, 50 to 60 duplicate entries in the voter registry, indications that 5 people voted twice in 2010. Elections office workers got emails and texts before the primary telling them not to do a good job. On primary election day, 4 out of 7 of the county's permanent elections workers, including the acting elections administrator, didn't show up. Both land and mobile phones did not work in most precincts. A driver delivering election materials got a message there was a road blockage and made a detour that caused more delay. I talked with someone who works for the voting machine company. This person is being told not to say anything, and the person says they have a lot to say. So we need a decent investigation of all this stuff. Thank you.
Please slow the conversation down back there, please. We're trying to listen to testimony. Mr. Ye, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Let's move on to, let's see, Mr. Hoffman, no more testifiers out there, right, anyone yet?
No, we're here, we're waiting with bated breath, Mr. Chairman,
right.
for the agenda to begin.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
mackerel or
let's
is it
go ahead and move on to, Kona.
anchovy?
Go ahead, Lali.
mackerel or anchovy?
Our next testifier is Ms. Maria DeSilva. She'll be representing herself and her daughter in support of Bill 307.
Thank you, good morning.
Good morning, council members. Again, my name is Maria DeSilva. I am a resident and a coffee farmer in South Kona. I'm here to testify on behalf of Bill 307 for myself and my daughter, Shauna Gunnarsson. All of the citizens of Hawaii County have the right, I believe, to well-trained, competent police officers in adequate numbers to protect themselves and their property. And currently, I do not believe that we have that in South Kona. The recent rash of burglaries has really brought this to the forefront, but this goes back for many, many years. And if I had an hour, I could give you so many concrete examples of what I'm talking about. But since I don't, I would just like to say again that we are in favor of Bill 307 for the initial $16,830,000. I don't believe that the additional amendments that have been added with the earmarks are in line with what needs to be done. They don't seem to be, they seem to be more maintenance and things that should already be in the budget. And we really need to focus on the essentials, especially in this time of economic troubles that the nation is experiencing. And especially not when I see $1 million devoted to a golf cart shed. That just doesn't seem to ring right when there are those of us who are every day living in fear, actual fear for our well-being and safety. And this doesn't just include the adults. This also includes children. Please do not forget all of the children in South Kona. Mahalo for this opportunity to give testimony on behalf of Bill 307.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Lali, your next testifier, please.
Our next testifier is Mr. Gunnar Pfeifel, and he'll be speaking in support of Bill 307, representing himself.
Thank you, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, council members. I want to thank Brenda for bringing this forward. We've been going through this I live in Captain Cook, excuse me, and we've been going through this for years. I come here and I really appreciate these facilities. And having a proper facility makes things work better. Every administration, wherever they are, need these facilities to do a proper job. And I ask that the council support this bill. And pretty much, I'm kind of almost disappointed in the additions. It's almost a very superfluous thing, you know, because I wouldn't mind having a bond for everything, you know, the skate parks, the airport, and all this stuff. But this is just confusing an issue and saying what we would like is a decent police station. I would never want to see a fire department without their facilities also. So please support this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Let's move over to Paul. Go ahead, Barbara.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next testifier is Gene Thomas, and he will be speaking in support of Resolution 303-12 and Bill 292.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Council. Again, my name is Gene Thomas. I've been a pharmacist here in the area for over 20 years, and my testimony is in favor of Resolution 303-12, urging the repeal of Chapter 171C of the Hawaii Revised Statutes. This statute was written, has the potential to destroy Hawaii for future generations. I ask that you please support this resolution. When you read between the lines on this PLDC, you realize that it gives too much control to big business. It further circumvents local input, and that includes the county council as well. So if if it is not repealed, it could get totally out of hand, and I'm going to keep it brief. I just need to make a statement to that effect. The next one that I'm speaking about is County Bill 292, the one that I'm intimately familiar with because I live about a mile from the current PGB plant. And for us, the drilling sound is the worst. And my testimony is in favor of Bill 292, which would amend Chapter 14 relating to geothermal drilling and restricting the exploration drilling to between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., which I also know is quite an imposition for the drillers, but they never should have permitted the plant in the first place. Number one, the drilling sounds are different than the everyday sounds, which are bad enough. One of the drilling sounds is a low-frequency sound that resonates, and it resonates for not just a mile, it's longer than that. And to describe what that's like, it's a waxing and waning of a rumbling that goes through your house. It's like, no way should I be subjected to that. Okay, there's also the associated clanking of pipes and the normal drilling operation. So I realized from my studies that 1 mile isn't enough. It needs to be more like 2 or 3 miles. So I've had 2 sound engineers up on our property in previous years. And they both said you pretty much need to encapsulate the plant if you want to get rid of the normal sound, which is bad enough. That, in certain ways, may not even be practical because the possible H2S leaks would create a dangerous situation. Basically, the only way to mitigate this is to shut the plant down, and I just have to take a hard line on that. I have over 60 acres that's been totally devalued due to the plant. It's a gorgeous property, ocean views, everything. It's just not right. It has to be stopped. Do geothermal away from local residents. Give them at least a 2-3 mile minimum buffer. And I need to close with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Let's move here to Kilo. First is
Sorry.
Sorry. Oh, was that just your first testifier, Barbara?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, please forgive me. Go ahead and introduce your second testifier. Thank you, Barbara.
Our next testifier is Mr. Geoff Last, and he is speaking in support of Bill 292.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Council. First, I would like to thank you for your 9-0 vote on PLDC, PDL, well, whatever. It shows how you all feel about people outside of our community making decisions about public lands without due process. This bill, in a stroke of the pen, is killing democracy. And I think you realize that. That's why it was a 9-0 vote. I also understand how you might have had reservations about the other recent geothermal bills and their liability for the county, even though, in my opinion, the county is liable because it is the entity allowing geothermal to exist in our community. However, Bill 292 is pretty straightforward: noise at night. PGB and potential other geothermal companies are for profit. PGB made millions last year. The owners do not even reside in this country. 60% interest is owned by the Israelis. They have been allowed to set up heavy manufacturing facility in the middle of a residential neighborhood. You and I know that ag zoning is a loophole, and agricultural businesses do not make noise 24 hours a day for 4 months, as PGB has just done. They are allowed in the permit to do 70 dBLs average noise, 24/7. Let's look at that word average. I like that word. They can make 130 to 140 dBLs for up to 3 minutes. Okay, you live near the plant. Let's say you just get used to that 70 dBLs, and suddenly, while you're asleep, it goes to 130. You are startled awake. Now you cannot go back to sleep. It happens quite regularly out there. Sleep deprivation is medically recognized as a problem. Depression, irritability, and anger. It is used in places like Guantanamo. PGV and other companies say that they have to be able to drill 24/7. They give lots of reasons. Mostly it is in the permit and the county has no regulatory rights. In the late 80s and early 90s, they also said that they had to dump their waste on the ground and open vent into our neighborhood. The technology was there, but it was going to cost them money. The health department, who was supposed to protect us, protected them. It was in the permit. We sued, we won. You and I both know why they say they have to drill 24/7. It is because it will cost them money, period, exclamation point, etc. Once again, the permit is written for them. I have lived in Puna for 28 years. I was a flower grower shipper for 17 years. I dealt with Caucasians, Filipinos, Hawaiians, Japanese, and Chinese. I am saying this because there seems to be two of you that have forgotten that we are human beings out here in Puna. We are all brothers and sisters. We are all in this play of life together. We are not expendable. We are not collateral damage. So I ask you, do you back big business for profit, or do you protect the people, your people, from wanton greed of outsiders?
Sir, please summarize.
I suggest, yes, I will. I suggest you go home and ask your wives, sons, and daughters, and maybe your priests or monks or reverends, what path to follow. Ask them if they would like a manufacturing plant put in their backyard. Women usually have more compassion.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe they are born with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Let's move here to Kilo. Our next testifier here in Kilo is Donna Oba to speak on Resolution 311-11. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Donna Oba, co-president of the League of Women Voters of Hawaii County and a board member of the Hawaii State League. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of members throughout Hawaii. The State League of Women Voters issued a press release on September 17th, urging the County Council to act to restore voter confidence and to ensure a smooth general election. The League of Women Voters strongly urges you to pass Resolution number 311-12, which incorporates the League's recommendations. The League stands on the written testimony submitted 24 hours ago, but despite the fact that the situation has changed. The State Office of Elections is now in charge of Hawaii County's general election. This will hopefully produce the same outcome as Resolution 311-12 would have achieved. That is, with experienced and trained people running the elections, Big Island voters will have confidence that their vote will be fairly counted. Big Island's election difficulties affect the entire state, not just the island. The general election includes state and federal votes and candidates. Questionable practices might generate candidate lawsuits, which are always costly to the taxpayers. The state actions do not end the county election responsibilities. There is still plenty to do with voter registration, absentee voting, and communicating with the public and press. For example, we have not seen any PSAs about WikiWiki voter registration, which is this Saturday and Monday, October 6th and 8th. The public depends on the press for information. We need communication. Resolution number 311-12 includes other recommendations that are still relevant for ensuring voter confidence. The list is there, but in particular, to prevent the 2012 primary election mishaps from happening again, please request the State Elections Commission to investigate what went on. Every vote counts. This is a tenet of the League of Women Voters. We assume the County Council and the Elections Office also support this tenet, which is basic to our democratic form of government. Big Island voters need to be able to trust that their vote counts. So please adopt and implement all of the recommendations in resolution number 311-12. And I apologize, but I have one sentence I did not add that I'd like to speak in support of resolution number 280-12. The League of Women Voters also supports strongly this resolution calling for adequate funding of the Hawaii Campaign Spending Commission and adequate and equitable funding of a statewide comprehensive public funding system. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Our next testifier is Hanalei Fergustrum to speak on 303-12. Good morning.
Good morning. I didn't know. Good morning, Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm here to speak on resolution 303-12. By the way, I'm from spokesperson for Nakapuna Moko PLDC. Nakapuna Moko PLDC stands in support of this initiative by the town of Hawaii and its corporate council to repeal and effectively abolish HRS 171, the Public Lands People Corporation.
Again, speak to the mic and hear you. There we go.
Let's try this again. Is it better? Okay, thank you. Okay, let's try this again. Hello, my name is Hanalei Fergustrum. I'm the spokesperson for Nakapuna Moko PLDC. Thank you for allowing me to do this morning. I speak on resolution 303-12. Nakapuna Moko PLDC stands in support of this initiative by the County of Hawaii and its corporate council to repeal and effectively abolish HRS 171, Public Lands Development Corporation, in its entirety. We further request that the county work with other counties, and council with other counties, who have already seen that their constituents voiced their disapproval of the Public Lands Development Corporation. Nakapuna Moko PLDC wishes to share its own research on this law and offers its findings to the county of Hawaii. By the way, this is actually a very, very important point because, you know, I think it's been about 50 years now we've been fighting over the sale of the ceded lands. It hasn't been done before, so what new trick did they come up with that makes them good today? However, so what we did is we looked into the Additions Act when public lands was set up in the first place. And so in our second letter, we make this, it reads like this. Public and judicial notice is hereby given to this board that the Public Land Development Corporation does not fit anywhere in the 5F lands, ceded lands, public lands of the state of Hawaii's Admissions Act. Under the 5F clause, there are 5 defined beneficiaries. Those defined beneficiaries are as follows. So, a little tight because it's legal jargon we use here. Anyway, it states the law granted to the state of Hawaii by subsection B of section, and the public land retained by the United States under subsection C and D, and later conveyed to the state under subsection C, together with the proceeds from the sale of other distributions of such land, and income thereof, shall be held by the state as a public trust for the support of public schools, public educational institutes, government, other conditions of Native Hawaiians as defined by the Hawaiian Homestead Commissions Act of 1920, as amended, and for the development of farm and home ownership on a widespread basis as possible, for making a public improvements, and for the provision of land for public use. Such lands, proceeds, and income shall be managed and disposed of one or more of the foregoing purposes, in such manner as the constitutional laws of the state provide, and their use for any other object shall constitute a breach of trust, for which a citizen is liable. Now this is very important. Yes, okay. This is very important because it's all about public. Whatever you throw public in, public gets removed. That's part of what you're doing. You're trying to cut yourself into something that is not yours. And I just encourage, I wrote up a lot for you so you can actually look at it and see how that can be used. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Let's move over back to Kona. Go ahead, Lolly, your next testifier, please.
Our next testifier is Mr. Peter Van Dyke, representing the Bishop Museum and the Amy Greenwell Garden, speaking in support of Bill 255.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Peter Van Dyke, and I am supporting Bill 255, which would allow the establishment of a farmers market in Kealakekua at at the Amy Greenwell Garden. I do work for Bishop Museum. I'm the manager of Amy Greenwell Garden, so I am representing the property owners that are most affected by this bill. I want to thank the County Council for supporting the efforts to get a farmers market going in Captain Cook and at Amy Greenwell Garden in the past. I think a farmers market in Kealakekua, Captain Cook, is a win for everybody. It's a win for the community. They get a gathering place and a place to socialize. They get access to local produce. They get access to local handmade products. It's a win for the farmers who get to meet their customers face to face. They get to sell their goods at retail prices. It's a win for non-resident visitors. Tourists are really enjoy going to farmers markets, and it gives them a chance to mingle with local people, and it also gives them an opportunity to see these goods and products. They're not for sale everywhere, and at good prices too. Our little neighborhood of Captain Cook wins too. It brings people, draws people to Captain Cook. It encourages them to stay. They'll stay for a while. When they're finished shopping at the market, they'll want to stay and look around a bit more, maybe go to Monago Hotel for pork chops. It's right across the street. And then Bishop Museum and Amy Greenwell Garden, we win too from this. It helps raise our visibility in the community. It raises our visibility with the non-resident visitors too. It helps us secure our financial future by drawing people into our garden, and helps us fulfill our mission, which is making the connection between Hawaiian plants and Hawaiian culture. So I'd like to thank you for hearing my testimony today, and for supporting this bill, and I'd like to urge you to support Bill 255. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Molly, your next testifier, please.
Our next testifier is Ms. Susan Dursten. She'll be speaking on Resolution 280-12 and Resolution 311-12 in support and representing herself.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chairman Yugong and council members. On 280-12, I want to urge you to vote yes on this resolution. You've certainly heard all the arguments for comprehensive public funding, and that frees incumbents from spending so much money for campaigns, and time too, allows them to meet their constituents or would-be constituents. It frees candidates from obligations to large contributors, and finally it encourages those qualified individuals to run for office that might not otherwise. You have to admit that the U.S. system of campaigning is just about unique among nations, and I think that people all over the world look at it and shake their heads. They can't believe so much money is spent, and they see it as also tainted democracy, I think, because of the obligations that do arise. And so this program has been successful in the last 2 elections. And going forward, the resolution addresses one of those problems that did arise, which is the equitability of the funding. And this would give equal amounts to candidates in all the districts. The other thing that it does that's important is to secure stable funding for the campaign spending commission. They have a lot of responsibilities other than this pilot program, and they really do need the funding in order for us to have transparent records about what candidates do spend. So it's not too early to tout the success of this program. I just hope people all over the state, even beyond the state, hear about how well it has worked. Thank you very much. I hope you will support it. Secondly, then I wish to talk about 311-12, the recommendations that the League of Women Voters of the state made. I have as a precinct official, I have testified and also written letters, particularly one to Ms. Kawauchi, which I think was included with the testimony I sent today. I am really delighted to see the state take steps in this regard. I think some of the points that were made by the League of Women Voters are still highly relevant. For instance, the press observers and political observers, that needs to be protected and to be carried out. Also, the investigation, because the responsibilities between the state and the county do need to be clarified. Also, perhaps other features of the election, the primary election, need to be looked at closely. So I would urge you to support this resolution. I do thank Councilman Palago, also Councilman Onishi, for bringing forward these resolutions and also for having pursued this problem earlier. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Let's move over to Pohua. Go ahead, Barbara.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next testifier is John Olson. He will be commenting on Resolution 303-12 and Bill 292 and Bill 305.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Council Chairman Ugong and members of the council. Thank you. I'll start with the resolution on the PLDC 303-12. I think that this piece of legislation is probably certainly the largest land fraud or land grab since the overthrow of the monarchy. It is also, in my opinion, one of the most significant attack on democracy that this state has ever seen. This takes the public business away from the public view in so many areas. Contained within it, at least one of the versions that I have seen, goes after federal banking law, the issues of common tenancy, that a single tenant on a deed of a piece of property of tenants in common could encumber that property. As I understand it, that's not federally legal, but it didn't seem to bother our legislature. This thing needs to be taken off the books. Not that something doesn't have to be done about the way the state handles state lands. There's a lot of work that can be done. The state's obligation there is as deep as it is wide, and it has been and is being poorly done. I'll leave that. Moving on to Bill 292, the noise issue. This is the fault of no one except the developer. They have heard from the community, of which I have been a part since the late 80s. They promised us in the permitting process that they would not create an inordinate noise impact. That was a lie. The list of what they promised to us that they failed to deliver is endless. They can control the noise if they choose to. The county's ability to do that is certainly there. Probably the easiest thing would be to rezone the small lots in Puna, give them a zoning designation that is consistent with what they are. 1 acre or less lot should be residential. And therefore it would have a significantly less noise allowable than ag land. you have the power to do it. I'll leave that one. 305, the building code. If you've never picked up a solar panel, and I would assume that most of you haven't, you'll find that they don't weigh a whole lot. And while they take up a lot of space, the average solar panel weighs about as much as your average 3x3 sash hung window. So the workers who will install these panels on the roofs will be of a significantly greater load than that entire system when it's installed. I would also point out is, where on the front page of the paper have you ever seen the headline, "Roof collapses under solar panels"? I think it's pretty safe to say these have been going on roofs now for 20 plus years. Never seen the headline. I think we're working here on trying to fix an engineering problem that isn't broken. And it may be the architects and engineers would like to get a little more of the action than they've been getting in the past. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Go ahead, Barbara. Next testifier, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next testifier is Larry Gehring, and he will be commenting on Resolution 280, 300, 303, 306, 307, and 311, also Bill 285 and 290.
That's my boy. Thank you. Please let us know when you transition, Mr. Gehring, so we can reset the clock. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Council and members of the public. Thank you very much. And I want to thank the testifiers. As I mentioned yesterday, this is democracy in action, and I promise I won't take 30 minutes on every item. And I want to thank you for some inexpensive cardio. Resolution 280-2, campaign funding, and I want to thank Ms. Smart for bringing this to the front. I have spoken with Kristen, the director over there, because I didn't file, during my campaign I did not file the first report. And it says very specifically, if you don't have any expenses or donations more than $2,000, you're not required to file. So I didn't file. Well, the idiots evidently can't read their own writing. We had several conversations about that. Then we got into the formula on the funding. She didn't have a clue. And then another part of the no clue was why the east side of the island gets far less, disproportionately less than the west side. No clue. So that does need to be worked on. Resolution 300-12, copy machine. And kudos to Ms. Ford for attending the meetings. Evidently the rest of the council, they can't find time to attend the meetings, even though they get paid the same $900 a week plus expenses plus benefits. But anyhow, copy machines, 300-12, more overpriced copy machines. Once again, you could train a couple of maintenance people to repair these things, repair the copy machines, purchase them for less than $2,000. I estimate you spend over $500,000 needlessly, which is poor stewardship of the money. Was it Resolution 303-12, the PLDC? This is another no-show council member meeting on the east side, and it was ridiculous. The chairman or whoever opened the meeting for the PLDC did not do evidently did not do a very good job of explaining the PLDC, because I had the opportunity to speak with Senator Solomon in another no-show council meeting of the Hanalei Fergustrum CDP, and I spoke with Senator Solomon about this, and I brought that to her attention, and she said, well, it was designed for the parks, to protect the parks. I said, well, then it was poorly explained at the outset. So you need to have a press conference to enlighten people as to the real purpose of the PLDC. But now, after hearing all the testimony that we've heard, reading all the articles in the paper, it should be abolished and start over again. It's good that the dysfunctional state legislature thinks it can create something to help us, but it hasn't done it in this respect. Resolution 306-12, hire an administrator for election. Well, Mr. Onishi, obviously, according to today's paper, that's been taken out of your hands and everybody else's hands. But I want to mention that if it hadn't been for the crybaby union workers laying down on the job, the primary election may have gone much smoother. And in addition to that, there's 4 members of that county council that have no vested interest in the general election. You could volunteer your time to help make it run a little bit smoother, you know? Incredible. But you could hire the Pope to run that office. Wouldn't make any difference if the crybaby union workers lay down on the job. And the current county clerk, Miss I hope I didn't pronounce this wrong. Yamaguchi, whatever. I'm sorry. She is very competent. She can do this, but she has to have people that want to help her, not the crybabies that she's got working for her right now. Well, Resolution 307-12, Hawaiian Airlines, Japan to Kona. That's a great idea. But why not bring them into Hilo, which is closer to the volcano and closer to Mauna Kea? What is this tourism administrator's obsession with Kona? Just because there's maybe larger resorts or whatever over there? They have no better beaches than the east side, so why don't we be looking at Hilo? Hilo has an international airport also, and it, Resolution 311-12, the League of Women Voters. Well, I belonged to the League of Women Voters in another lifetime when I used to live in Las Vegas, because I like to be involved. I like to see what's going on. And there again, League of Women Voters, I don't care if you're president or if the Pope or anybody else who's in charge of that election department, it would not work if the crybaby union workers continue to lay down on the job and won't help. And how about you volunteering also? You know, you've got all the answers, you talk the talk, and nobody wants to walk the talk. Bill 255, Farmers Market in Kona, that's a great idea. I campaigned for the same thing on the Hanalei coast, kind of like the open air market down at, what is it, Hanalei, down that area. It's a great idea. I commend you for it. Bill number 292, PGV drilling at night or daytime only. You know, there again, this is another classic example of closing the barn door after the cow gets out. That's what we used to say back in Iowa. Close the barn door after the cow gets out. Why wasn't this thought of at the time they approved the original contract or the bid? I would not live in that area. I mean, I would not allow any noise at night. I don't sleep good at night with any kind of noise. So, they shouldn't be making a lot of noise down there, period. Bill number 285, Manano Street, improvements. Probably a good idea for a 2-block stretch of street, what, $500,000? What about downtown, Mr. Warren Lee? Do you not have any priority list, or do you not know how to spell it, the term priority list? And what qualifications do you have to even try and make up a priority list? I've asked you about that before. You don't have a priority list. Despicable. Communication 844, Mr. Ikeda, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, public improvements. And you got it listed $400,000 today for Upper Waianui, pedestrian safety and et cetera, benefits of very few people. This money should be allocated to downtown streets, which benefits thousands every day. Maybe not 50 a day, but thousands every day. Just totally out of whack. Totally out of whack. Communication 844-2, Mr. Onishi. Same thing, $4 million Kilauea project that benefits only a few compared to the thousands every day who use downtown streets. Warren Lee, once again, has no priority list for road improvements or repair. And how did he get hired? Another classic case of cronyism, I guess. But that money could be better used. You could repave all of downtown 4 times over for $4 million. Ask Mr. Bloss, he did it for $400,000. And your golf course Taj Mahal for carts for $1 million. Give me a break. Buy some materials. You got members out there that can donate their time for $10,000. You can have yourself a Taj Mahal, plus a repair department out there. All right. Bill number 290, analysis for private roadways above the Hanalei Greenwell Park for $200,000. private roadways. Ms. Ford, that's another disgraceful use of taxpayer money. You got plenty of talented people right there in the county. Utilize their expertise. You don't have to hire people from outside the county. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Let's move back here to Hilo. Our next testifier here in Hilo is Susan Winkler to speak on Resolution 279-12, Resolution 303-12, and Bill 292.
Good morning, aloha. Thank you for listening to my testimony. So, on Resolution 279-12, video testimony, sounds like a great idea. I support that. I would love to be able to submit testimony by video. Resolution 303-12 to abolish PLDC. I support that resolution. There's so many issues with that whole scenario. It really has to be dealt with. I do support keeping these, and I feel for the testifier who spoke earlier. I just hope that they could find some other way, not through the PLDC. Bill 292. I live near PGB, so this affects me and my family. We actually moved into our cabin, which we built, and we got permitted. We moved in just at the same time as they started drilling earlier this year, and it was a big shock. So I've got at least 6 reasons why you need to pass Bill 292. I did send in a written testimony with more detail on this. It seems like it's a legal issue. Most of you fully seem to understand the social problem that this is causing. So number one, the noise of drilling is truly awful. Nobody should be subjected to the sound of drilling in their home 24 hours a day for months at a time. Number two, the conditions of the Geothermal Resource Permit, GRP2, issued by the County of Hawaii Planning Commission PGB in 2001 are not being met on multiple counts. Now, I was drinking the Kool-Aid from PGB when they were saying that they were meeting all their permit requirements. I spent some time looking at their permits. They are not. So first, best available control technology is not being employed by PGB, and they are in violation of the levels and requirements set out in the permit. When PGB applied for their most recent GLP amendment, they stated that drilling noise levels are predicted to range between 45 and 51 dBA and were expected to be less than 45 dBA at the nearest resident receptors. We have data that shows that they have substantially underestimated these noise levels. When Hawaii County Planning Commission issued the GLP permit, they referred to the 70 dBA DOH noise limit, saying, quote, this is the Planning Commission. This is unreasonably loud, and the Planning Commission believes that nearby residents are justified in seeking a stricter standard. It is also understandable that they did not expect that noise standards would be so drastically relaxed after the permittee made representations that the noise levels would not exceed 55 and 45 dBA. So in that permit, they're saying that we should be looking for tighter restrictions. And the GRP is granted such that, quote, the proposed geothermal development activities would not have unreasonable adverse health, environmental, or socioeconomic effects on residents or the surrounding property. Now, there's two I've rolled into one to save time. The BLNR and DLNR Plan of Operations approval and the Hawaii DOH non-covered source permit issued in 2009, they both say that this permit does not release the permittee from compliance with other applicable statutes of the state of Hawaii or with local laws, regulations, or ordinances. Okay, number 6. Hawaii Department of Health Administrative Rules, Title 11, Chapter 46, Community Noise Control, provides the state noise levels rules that the GRP permit refers to. It says in Chapter 1146.13,
I'm sorry,
quote,
I
will summarize. The council of any county may adopt and provide for the enforcement of any ordinances regulating any matter relating to excessive noise. No ordinance shall be held invalid on the ground that it covers any subject or rule of the state, provided that in any case of conflict between a statute or rule and ordinance, the law which affords the most protection to the public shall apply.
copy of that. Sure. Thank you very much for your testimony. Our next testifier is Paul Guggenhill to speak on Resolution 303-12, 279-12, and Bill 292. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Aloha. I want to begin with Resolution 280-12. I just want to state I support public support of campaigns. It will help to turn the tide of the corporate money, which is buying elections and in turn trying to buy the legislative processes. And we're seeing this as an ocean tide. And I know that this council has members that are trying to do the right thing. And I really appreciate that you're supporting that resolution. As far as video testimony, Resolution 279-12, I support that as well. Anything that gets the public voice in front of the council is a good thing. Regarding Resolution 303-12, abolishing the PLDC, I don't need to go into detail there. I appreciate that the council 9-0 has supported this resolution. Again, it's a vote in favor of the people versus corporate interests. Regarding Bill 292, I do live within a mile of the PGB plant, and I want to explain to the council why we need this bill passed into law. The basic problem is that PGB has not been a good neighbor. As Suzanne just pointed out in her testimony, PGB predicted drilling noise levels of 45 to 51 dBA, and they said 45 dBA at their nearest residential receptors. During drilling, they blow that away, but even during their normal operations, they're much higher than that. She also pointed out that PGB's own data shows that they have consistently and significantly exceeded those levels. This is drilling noise. I'd like to point out that PGB consistently exceeds those levels when they're not drilling. To give you a recent example, last Thursday night at 7:55 p.m., the noise from the PGB plant was very loud. It was louder than the Koki frogs, and it interrupted our after-dinner conversation. I checked the PGB website and found that the noise level was 60.9 dBA at PGB monitor. This is a 5-minute average, so you know it was consistently loud. I called the plant, and a short time later, Mike Kealakekua called me back. I asked him what was happening at the plant to make so much noise. He said they weren't doing anything unusual. I asked him why normal operations would be so loud. He said that maybe a Koki frog was near the monitor. I pointed out to him that I can hear the Koki frogs in the trees around my house, and I can hear the plant, and it's a mile away. So I know it's not a Koki frog. Also, the monitor at PGB-A was at 56.4 dBA, and maybe there was a Koki frog near that monitor as well. Unfortunately, there was no data on PGB-C, and I asked Mike about that, and he said he would check into it, get back to me. As of today, there is no data on that monitor either. So this is the pattern for PGB. They shift blame, they do nothing to mitigate the noise. This is not a good neighbor. If PGB were a barking dog and it went on for 10 minutes, after contacting the owner, the police would be called and the owner could be fined. PGB makes noise through the night and blames it on Koki frogs. If it's during the day, they blame papaya farmers and their bulldozers, as Mike did in his testimony in the council earlier this year. PGB's method operandi is clear. Take the complaints, but do nothing about them. Fight the county council or any other agency that tries to protect neighbors. Say they will look into mitigation of noise and do nothing. Why? Because it costs money to mitigate noise. And the longer they go without mitigation, the more money they save. This has been a great strategy for PGB for the last 20 years. They've ignored the complaints of neighbors. One outcome from this strategy is the neighbors of the plant no longer trust them, and we don't trust anything that we hear from them. We've also had exposures where we've smelled the hydrogen sulfide gas, and they say nothing's going on. So I asked the council to do what PGB has refused to do, protect the health, safety, and sanity of those who live near the plant. In so doing, you will also protect any other Hawaii County residents who live near exploratory drilling, which is sure to take place. Mahalo for your concern and your consideration of this important issue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your testimony. Let's check in with the other sites. Lali, how many more testifiers do you have in Kona?
Just have 2 more testifiers in Kona.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Barbara, in Pahoa?
I have 4 more testifiers signed up so far.
Okay, we have about 20 more here in Kilo. Let's go back to Kona. And go ahead, Lali, your next 2 testifiers, please.
Our next testifier is Mr. John Hetherington, and he'll be speaking in opposition of Bill 305, representing himself.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Aloha. I'm an architect here in Kona and a contractor. And in reference to the previous testimony regarding Bill 305, it is not the weight of the panels that's in question. There are a number of reasons why it's not safe to install solar panels without consideration for the structural integrity of the roof, and even in some cases the building itself. Rafter or truss type and age, spacing and size, the wind uplift, the uncertainty of workmanship during installation, termite or water damage due to structural elements in an older roof, firefighter access during an emergency, worker safety during installation, and safety for the building occupants. Consider this picture in a humorous light. Your friend's brother, sister's cousin just won $10,000 in a copper radio phone-in contest. They finally have enough money with what else they've managed to scrape together for the solar system they've been dreaming about. A little Helco off their backs. Say that you know this house. It's an older home, had a little termite damage in the attic a few years back, and cousin put up a hanging rack from the ceiling in the garage to store all his extra lumber and auto parts. They come to you for advice, and what do you tell them? Take the $10,000, go to Vegas, see if you can double it. Or maybe they should fix the roof and make a smaller solar system and they can add on to later. We as architects, you as council members, and our Department of Public Works are responsible for the public safety, health, and welfare for all of the community, and on the long-term basis, not just for immediate wants. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Your next testifier, Lali.
Our next testifier is Ms. Josephine Kali'i Pio, and she'll be speaking in support of 3 different items, which is Resolution 303-12, Bill 305, and Bill 292, representing herself.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I just wanted to say that I support Bill 305, and for Bill 292, since I didn't hear any discussion on low frequency noise, I thought I would just bring that up because I read an article about low frequency noise actually harming the health of people that live within the vicinity of a wind farm. And it doesn't seem to me that Puna Geothermal Venture monitors for low frequency noise, and it could harm well, it has already been proven that it is harming the health of people that live next to wind farms. And so this low frequency noise I don't think is being monitored, and I think that it should be something to be looked into. Okay, and then in regards to 30312, I want to say mahalo for being the first county council to unanimously support Resolution 30312 to repeal the Public Lands Development Corporation at your last meeting. Since that last meeting, the Kauai County Council has introduced and initially passed a similar resolution to repeal the PLDC. And this coming Friday, the Maui County Council will be taking the first steps to hear a resolution to repeal the PLDC. We have a long, tough road ahead of us, but I believe your vote to pass this resolution again will be an encouragement to the other county councils to pass similar legislation to help us with this struggle. Also, this is a good time to get some of Hawaii's history straight. A strategic plan, before I get to that, I just wanted to say a strategic plan to me is a red flag that the PLDC is flawed. So be careful when you discuss this plan with Mr. Hariguchi. Also, this is a good time to get some of Hawaii's history straight. We all keep calling these lands ceded or public, as if the Queen gave the land away. No, that is wrong. When Hawaii became an illegally occupied nation in 1893 by the United States of America, those lands became seized lands. So the correct name for those lands is seized kingdom lands, lands that are kept in trust for the Kingdom of Hawaii. The PLDC has no business touching those lands. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. So Lolly, no more testifiers in Kona, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Aloha, Barbara, your next testifier, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our next testifier is Dylan Johnson, and he is speaking in support of Bill 292.
Thank you. Good morning.
Hello, council members. So we will probably be hearing today from more PGB lawyers who will say, as they did last week, that people have no right to use our own government to pass laws to protect our community. This simply is not true. Upon further study of documents and permits, it is very obvious that companies applying for geothermal research permits are also required to comply with the County of Hawaii rules and ordinances. Their permit does not put them above the law. I will not be getting into the details of these documents in my testimony, as you already have a written copy of them, which was submitted with Susan's testimony, and she covered most of that in hers. What we're dealing with here is a community health issue that has had a drastic negative effect on the people of our community. We now turn to you, our elected representatives, because we have nowhere left to turn. You are our last line of defense. We are asking you now to do the right thing and pass common sense legislation to protect the public health and well-being. And in regards to Resolution 303-12, I feel I said everything I need to say about it last week, or whatever it was we testified about it last. I strongly support the resolution. Thank you so much for voting for it unanimously. Please keep this momentum going.
Thank you for your testimony. Barbara, your next testifier, please.
Thank you. Our next testifier is Barbara Conlanger, and she will be speaking in support of Bills 292 and 305.
Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you, members of the council. I appreciate your attention to the matters at hand. Probably my comments will probably involve both bills at the same time. One of the testifiers speaking in opposition to Bill 292 has listed all the different governmental agencies and entities that have jurisdiction over the PGV plant here in Leilani. The council, which is the only elected governmental agency, is not included. How about that? It's a very lucrative loophole, and I know every member of the council is aware of these different kinds of zoning issues. I'm strongly in support of Bill 292. Finally, the council is recognizing it has affirmative power to have the authority, the responsibility, and the resources to govern. And in order to do that, you'll be able to address the impacts of all kinds of developments. How contracts are written, how they are evaluated, how people, general people such as myself, living in substandard subdivisions, can finally get to work as the cohesive whole with all of our governmental agencies. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Let's move here to Hilo. Our next testifier is Mr. Bob Burns to speak on Resolution 303-12, Bill 287, Bill 178, Bill 305, and Bill 292. Please let someone transition, sir. Thank you.
Aloha, County Council members. I do not want to speak on more than one agenda item at one time,
but you put all these items on the agenda, so what can I do? They're
Speak
all,
to the microphone, Don.
what's that?
Speak to the microphone.
They're all of interest to me. The first one, the 30312 PLDC, I without hesitation support 30312. I'm sure we all agree the PLDC legislation is the worst legislation we have ever seen. The PLDC legislation must be rescinded. You would expect PLDC type legislation from Putin in Russia, Castro in Cuba, or Chavez in Venezuela, but not in the Aloha State. Was Abercrombie and his legislative cronies trying to win the worst legislation in the world award? If so, they succeeded. Please vote unanimously to urge the legislature to rescind this horrible legislation. Mahalo. I'm moving on to the GT drilling and County Council members. I did put written testimony into you. It's headline Hawaii Island Energy Generation Comparative Analysis, Goals and Positions. Bill 292 is reactive legislation to an existing situation. You have no choice. I fully support Bill 92 as written and urge you to vote for adoption. Let's make it unanimous. Would you want ORMAT to move into your neighborhoods, Ms. Onishi or Mr. Ikeda, because you were the two that voted against it? We've just heard that the Monolo Risk Zone has created hotspots on the Hilo Golf Course and up in Sunrise Ridge. ORMAT wants to drill there. Would you approve ORMAT, knowing what a bad neighbor they are, to drill in those locations? I also offer the following as proactive legislation, because this is reactive and I support it, but we need to get proactive. We heard other speakers speak about it, because as Ms. Ford said, this isn't just about PGV, this is about geothermal on Hawaii Island. And if you look down there where it says geothermal positions and goals, no construction noise outside the property line, no geothermal related air pollution beyond the property line. Geothermal site impacts must remain on the property. Geothermal power generation on Hawaii Island for consumption on Hawaii Island only. No geothermal power will be generated for off-island transmission. There will be no connection to off-island cable. Geothermal generation locations shall be diversified, so if there's an earthquake or an eruption, they're not destroyed. I've got cultural penalties, which are two I'm holding back for further study, and no other industrial uses will be permitted in geothermal power. This is the proactive type of thing we need now to make sure we don't see PGV doing this to a neighborhood again. ORMAT, being a bad neighbor, has brought on this 7 to 7 for no drilling restriction themselves. They did it. ORMAT representatives said they could have been a better neighbor, but by correcting the noise. ORMAT did not care about their neighbors. That is not Pono. ORMAT should be Pono and correct their bad neighbor impact. Mahalo. Moving on to the Alto Bay. I also supplied written testimony on this. It's called Alto Bay, Hawaii Island, Hawaii. The reason we're here on photovoltaic permitting is because you approved Bill 270, and I think Mr. Yagong and Ms. Ford did not vote for that, but the rest of you did. That is the Chicago Building Code you approved. We asked you not to bring the Chicago Building Code to Hawaii Island. Both Warren Lee and Brandon Gonzalez resisted any common sense proposals we brought to the building code. You heard Warren and Brandon at the last meeting argue why we need photovoltaic permitting. The need for an engineer stamp so installation will comply with hurricane code requirements on Hawaii Island, where we have never had a hurricane. Tsunami, yes. Earthquake, yes. Lava, yes. Hurricane, no. You have an alternative to Warren and Brandon. And I've got that on the sheet here that shows a self-regulating, self-policing photovoltaic hui outside of government. It includes the people that do the installation, which are electrical contractors that want to get to work. It includes the distributors and engineers that have designed these systems. It includes the financing companies, because the only reason you can put on this roof is because they're willing to finance it. It includes a liaison with Telco, which I've tried to get and haven't been given one yet. It includes a liaison with the Hawaii County. I bring two items to your attention here. Out of the paper on 9/18/2012, page A3, Hawaii Tribune, Hawaii sees more solar systems, and it gives the amount of solar systems that are being generated on all these islands. The second item was discussion that came up at the last hearings. It tells about Honolulu and how they solved it. In Honolulu, an electrical contractor walks into the office, I'm reading right from the article here, walks into the office to a console, and he walks out with his permit. You think Brandon and Warren are ever going to put that together? I don't think so. Please look at the self-regulating, self-policing, Voltavec hui that we can put together with the people that are doing the job. Mahalo. Hilo zoning. I'm going to refer to your big yellow package because there's some very telling things in that package. Bill 178, zoning change from single-family RS10 to multifamily. I speak in opposition to the zoning change. This is nothing more than buying single-family property and then cashing in at the expense of the neighborhood. This is further destruction of Hilo town, culture, and heritage. This continuing desecration, replacing historic plantation homes with apartment houses and metal buildings. That is not Pono. If this applicant had a law for their neighbors, they would build one plantation home to fit in with their neighbors. It would not be Pono for this council to prove this culture change. I ask you to look at the packet that you have. If you look at the last yellow page, this look at the designation there of the zoning. This is spot zoning. In most locales, spot zoning is illegal. If you look on page 2 of the report, it says surrounding land use zoning. Immediately surrounding lands are zoned RS10 and primarily consist of single-family dwellings. You look at this picture here of what they want to put there. Does that look like our historical plantation homes that are in this neighborhood? I don't think so. If you look at the picture here in the back, it shows the rooftops of the plantation homes that surround this zoning. I've gone and looked at that neighborhood time and time again, and this proposal does not belong there. Look at the guardrail. Look at the access. Commissioners, I said, it's not Pono for the developer and ask for this. You bought single-family home and use it that way. And it certainly wouldn't be Pono for you to change that zoning designation. Mahalo on that. The last item, I'm going to be very quick. It has to do, and I'm relating to this because I have an experience here I think you should know about. This has to do with awarding taxpayer money, taxpayer funds to nonprofit organizations. And we're talking $1 million. That's not peanuts. And Tutu and I live frugal so we can get by on a fixed income. This is not peanuts. And my experience was, and I'm going to suggest a way that you look at this. I saw an item that you gave a nonprofit money, and I was interested in the subject. And I went there 2 years after this project was supposed to be done. There was no report. There was nothing. This tax money was squandered. This tax money was squandered. Someone, whether it be you or staff, someone appointed, when you give away $1 million to these organizations, there needs to be follow-up. I don't care who they are. There needs to be follow-up to make sure this money is actually doing something for the taxpayers of this county. Otherwise, that money is just being given away without the results I think we should do. I'm sorry it takes so much time, Council, but you put all these things on the agenda. They were very mahalo.
Thank you. Our next testifier is Morning Akaka, to speak on resolution 303-12. Hello, good morning.
Aloha, aloha. My name is Moani Kealakekua from the Aloha Aina Education Center. There are a couple issues I want to speak on. Refer to 28012 public financing. You know, this was a vanguard issue that this county had carried, and it should be continued, especially in view of what the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court ruling recently in the past year. It's necessary that we have public financing You were in the vanguard, and now it may be lost. Please, it should be continued. Also, I want to second the motion on the previous speakers relating to his testimony relating to geothermal, because I'm quite in favor of the positions that he's taken. But I'm really, really, really concerned about the Public Land Development Corporation, and want to thank Brenda Ford for bringing this up on the county council. You folks were in the vanguard, as we were the first county to have the public hearings here, where over 100 people testified, showed up, and everyone that testified against what the PLDC is trying to do to our public lands. I'm a former trustee for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and I know what fiduciary responsibility means. And that's a very, very important role. Fiduciary responsibility to take care of these seized lands. The rest of you are all immigrants. Some of you may have been here for several generations, but those lands were left by our ancestors for the Hawaiian people, and we have been willing to share it with you, all of the people of this state. And these lands, this PLDC is trying to steal. And it's horrendous. The fact that you passed unanimously this resolution is to be commended, and you should continue in that vein. On Kauai, they did the same thing, and our governor has the audacity not to listen to the statewide furor about this PLDC, while he says he wrote to the Garden Isle Press on Kauai to defend the plan and advise detractors to not think about asking for repeal. What is he threatening us? And calls for the repeal are not productive, particularly before projects have even been identified. Let's get real. We know they've been identified. One of them was a carrot stick of these beehives, and the other is growing houses on ceded lands right next to Ho'opili, which is a prime agricultural land. They want to build houses on this agricultural land instead of the food that they need to feed the people on Oahu. And then, of course, there's a golf course that they want to extend a 20-year lease. Just give them a 20-year lease to our ceded land, our seized lands. Between the golf course and the subdivisions, this PDLC thinks we're a bunch of damn fools, Mr. Hariguchi. You, the governor, Malama Solomon, and Donovan De La Cruz, who's trying to push this PLDC down our throats. There's no, time and time again, I raised this issue over a year ago when the DLNR was here, and no one was saying anything about it at that time, but now there's a groundswell all over the state pointing out that that PLDC should be repealed for the sake of our present and future generations. You have Joanne Yukimura of the County Council in Kauai saying it is not charged, this PLDC, with the main issue of resource conservation, has no statutory guidelines for keeping decisions aligned with the main mission, whose main charge is to make money. Let's face it, Mr. Hariguchi, Governor Abercrombie, as well as we can go back into the past, as well as Malama Solomon and Donovan De La Cruz. Enough is enough. Repeal this. All over the state, the governor isn't even listening to the people that have shown up at these hearings and said, repeal this. I want to let you folks know that on October 8th, there will be a demonstration between 2 and 4 o'clock. Refers to greed, theft, and there's a picture of our governor. The theft of our ceded land. So please, show up. If you're going to vote for this, which I hope that you do, stay in line with your past vote. Also, show up at this demonstration on the 8th. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Do what you did the last time. Kill this. Repeal this PLDC. Mahalo.
Can we get a copy of that?
Yep. I have a copy of all of them.
Okay, let's go. Let's move back to Papua. Barbara, your next testifier, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next testifier is Robert Patrici, and he will be speaking on Resolution 280, 303, and 311, also Bills 305, 292, 307, and 178.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Patrici, if you could let us know when you transition, please.
Thank you. Aloha, Council. I'm going to start with Bill 178. I'm going to oppose this bill. I concur with Bob's testimony previously about the spot zoning impacts the bill's going to have on the community. This is the kind of thing that I oppose. Resolution 280. I support the public funding. I think it's a good thing. It gives people that would not otherwise be able to run a chance to run for office. And it also, it's going to hopefully take some of the special interest influence out of our elections. As we see in the current mayor's race, we've got the incumbent who's going to spend approximately $1 million. I mean, that's the media reports, is that is going to spend $1 million to win re-election to a seat that pays a job that pays about $100,000. So I just believe that you can't take $1 million from people and not have a vested interest, and not, they're gonna get special treatment, and I have a problem with that. So I really support the public funding. I want to move on to Bill 311, and I'm going to concur with this. I think we need an independent investigation, like was testified to earlier, but I think it has to be done, by the feds or by some independent body. It has to be more in depth than just what happened in this last election. We have to look at these drinking parties. We have to look at the private businesses that are being run out of our county facilities. This isn't the first instance of that happening. Was this a sign-making business? Was it political signs? I mean, that's all. This issue is bigger than what happened during the last election. So we do need some type of independent investigation on that. So I'm going to move on to Bill 307. I oppose floating bonds, any more borrowing money by the county. And I understand some of these things are proposed for good reasons. But our debt picture keeps rising, we keep deferring, we keep borrowing. Across the country, we're seeing municipalities, counties, cities going bankrupt, and people are hoping and counting that the economy is going to get better. I don't think that's going to happen. We just saw the federal government extend quantitative easing, which is printing money out of thin air. Basically, it's going to create inflation. I think we've got big economic problems coming, and we better rein in our borrowing. $1 million, Mr. Onishi, for a golf cart shed. I mean, in these times when people can't even feed their families and get a job, $1 million for a golf cart shed, I can't agree with borrowing money for those kind of things. Okay, I'm going to move on now to Bill 305. One of the problems we have again with the economy is buildings cost so much. It costs so much to build a house, rent a house, or buy a house. And this bill just makes that worse. An architectural stamp, an engineering stamp to put on a solar system. I've been putting solar systems up forever. It's ridiculous. When was the last time a solar system flew off the roof? When was the last time a solar system caused a building to collapse? It's crazy. Let's get rid of this. People can't afford their electric bills, and so you're going to make the solar system cost more. Let's make it easier. Let's help these people that want to put these solar systems in. You're backlogged already up there at the county. So all right. So I'm going to move on now to the last two that I have. Resolution 303 to repeal the PLDC. We've seen statewide opposition to this. It was unified. It is amazing. I've never seen anything like this in the last 20 years. And this is probably the worst legislation that I've seen in a very, very long time, stripping away home rule from us and dismantling over 20 years of environmental protections that we put in place. And I understand what the beekeeper was saying, or they want to preserve the forest down there. I don't think they need the PLDC to do that. I don't see why you need the PLDC to help preserve the Kealakekua forest at Puako or a bee business business, we can certainly do that without giving away all the protections that it took 20 years or more to get. So the PLDC I really support you guys for what you did, the 9-0 vote. I was really impressed with that. Thank you very much. I want you to know that within 2 hours of that vote, that your picture was all across, it went viral. That whole story was, you can't believe how widespread that news was spread on the internet within 2 hours of that vote. That's how concerned people are with this project. Okay, so finally, I'm going to go on to Bill 292, the noise bill. And Suzanne gave really good testimony. So, and she did show that the county does have the power to do this. PGV is going to get up here and they're going to argue that you can't do this. And I think if you read the permits and the stuff that Suzanne submitted, you're going to see that you can do this and that you should do this. I'm going to talk about BACT. PGV has supposed to, their permit requires BACT. Mike Tuatini testified the last time he was up here that they could, oh yeah, there's things we could do to make it quieter. Well, that's BACT. Why aren't they doing it? They're in violation of the permit according to Mike's testimony. There was also testimony last time that the rigs could be, they drill in the middle of LA and they can do it without any noise. So obviously PGV is not using BACT and they're in violation of their permit. Why isn't the permit being enforced? Whose responsibility is that? Please look into that. Let's see. Again, all these, I'm looking at what Suzanne submitted, and this is all the permit that goes on and on. There's all these different things that shows that the county does have jurisdiction, can enact a law, a noise law, and that PTV is going to be required to pursue it. And I promise you this: if you guys do it and they don't, we'll provide a lawyer and we'll file the lawsuit to make them comply with that law.
Are you done, Mr. Petrucci?
Not quite. I want to say also just on that you know, these noise requirements are structured for an agricultural community, and you know, everybody can try and pretend that this is an agricultural community. It's listed as an agricultural community.
I think we just lost contact. Oh, go ahead, Bob. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Are we okay?
Okay, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, so we all know that this is a residential community. There's thousands and thousands of people living out there, and so, you know, we need to, what's real and what's not real, you know? I mean, are they going to use a technicality to hurt people? Of course, the county, your first priority is supposed to be to the welfare and safety of this community. Keeping people up 24 hours a day hurts those people. It impacts them in all kinds of different ways. Of course, you can pass a law to protect us from that. Thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Barbara, before you introduce your next testifier, it's about 11:15 here in the morning. I know you have one more testifier in Pahoa. We do have 19 more here in Hilo. We are going to be taking testimony up to 12 o'clock, then we are going to be breaking for lunch and come back at 1:30. I'm assuming we'll still have more testifiers after that, but when we do complete the testifier, they expect to take the PLDC item first, along with Bill 292, and then the election 311-12 resolution. So, but just to let you know, at 12 o'clock, we are going to be breaking for lunch till 1:30. Ms. Ward, do you want to say something? Okay. All right, okay, Barbara, your next testifier, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our next testifier is Devine Galambos, and he is speaking in support of Bill 292, and then we also have two more testifiers after him.
Okay, very good. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Council. I do want to speak in favor of Bill 292, and I thank the 7 of you who voted in favor of this, so I guess I need to speak to the 2 of you who did not. In your neighborhood, if in the middle of the night a ram hose starts beating on Blue Rock and wakes you up, and you go, oh my God, what's going on? Wouldn't you just really freak out like this? Now imagine that at 2 o'clock in the morning, this starts at midnight, a second ram shows up and starts beating on this same blue rock. And the vibration comes into your house, and the noise is incredibly loud. Now, I live within 1 mile. Wouldn't you be on the phone? Wouldn't you be calling your representative? I mean, this is unbelievable amount of noise, and I encourage you. In fact, I wanted to invite the Vernicki family, the owners of Ormat. Maybe they should come in and be subject to their style of doing business. I don't think they would be very happy. So I really thank you, and I hope that you vote 9-0 to put this ordinance through and protect the people who put you in office. I thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I did hear, Barbara, that you have 2 more testifiers, so we'll come back to you. Let's come back here to Hilo. If we could ask Mr. Sam Cooper to come forward, along with Jocelyn Eo. That Jocelyn come forward. Mr. Cooper will be speaking on Bill 170. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the County Council. Thank you for your time. My name is Sam Cooper. I live next door to the proposed apartments, and I'm opposed. I'm opposed to the apartment buildings being built for rezoning. I'm not opposed, and I'm very fair, and I feel this is very fair to Mr. Winiger subdividing the site into 4 TMKs. That would allow Mr. Winiger to provide housing for students, even though the apartments are not student housing, they are apartments that are subject to fair housing laws. This way, this is Mr. Winiger's nest egg, and he should be able to profit as much from 4 TMKs, which actually he could build. I'm wondering why Mr. Moores didn't address this, 8 single-family dwellings, 1 home, 1 ohana. The ingress and egress is dangerous. There are drainage issues that I have given once or twice from that happened with the 2008 Kinole Street roadside improvements. They are real. Another thing is, I was curious about how the rest of the neighborhood felt in regards to this project. So I created a petition that I feel that, with all due respect to Mr. Onishi and Mrs. Smart, they slandered and shelved the petition at the last hearing. The body of my petition, a lot of facts were made from statements at the February 14th, 2012 hearing that Mrs. Ford had brought, Councilman Ford had brought up. She brought up that there can legally be 3 to 5 people living in each room. And I minimized the petition that it wasn't, there's 10 rooms with 5, no, there's, excuse me, 30 rooms with 5 people. That's 150 people. I put 90 people in. I also feel that, with all due respect to Mr. Onishi, that information has been passed to, if not all of the council members, some of the council members, that our neighborhood is for this rezoning, which it is not. And that's one of the reasons I was curious, and I created this petition that has 85 signatures on it. For myself, Kinole Street is a narrow street. It has unimproved shoulders, very dangerous for people to bicycle and to walk down the street. At this point in time, my feeling is vehicular traffic is much safer. I do have some pictures, and I'm hoping to be called to the table, as I won't have enough time in the 3 minutes to express my feelings. Mr. Winiger, in his...
For some reason, I will let you know that we will call you forward.
Thank you for your time, Council.
Thank you very much, sir, for your testimony. Our next speaker is Jocelyn Eo to speak on Bill 289. Good morning.
Hi. Can I also comment on resolution 30312?
30312? Okay.
Okay, so this is communication 815 and Bill 289. I really question this, and I'm coming forward because I feel it's my civic duty. I'm confused by this bill. contradict itself. Its clarification is either written poorly or crafted or crafted written. I don't know, but it has transparency issues, I feel. I'm very confused about it. I don't know why it has been brought forward as a resolution and a bill. A bill becomes a law, and we cannot have poor legislation written in as laws. I'm worried about the future council members and future generations down the road, generations from now. The state has not agreed to build a four-year university in Kona. They have not agreed to do that, so I don't know why this is even here. And it seems like it's committing county funds, and I'm looking at this, at the CIP thing, at this second page, and all people should go to this communication, 815. And it says here, well, first of all, there's a letter to Mr. Mayor Pinoy saying that enclosed for your review recommendation is bill amending this ordinance, CIP, by appropriating $4 million to fund classroom building, paying this county, UH, state, private partnership project. All right, so that's what it says there. I don't know what Ms. Pinoy's response was. In the communication to the council, it says here that funds shall be appropriated from private grants in the amount of $4 million for planning, studies, design, survey. On the second page of this project data financial statement, it says here the first classroom building, and it's big. It has 2 lecture halls with a minimum of 200 students each, 40 small classrooms, science labs, etc., locker rooms, and can be used for liberal arts. This partnership shall solicit building donor or multiple donors to complete this first building. Okay, so what about the planning, feasibility, and engineering studies? Now, according to this communication, it says that the grants are going to fund those studies. So you have studies before you can even go into building a project. And it says it's going to solicit the funds for building the project or completing the first building. Is it then that you get your $4 million? I don't know. I mean, and then it goes on to say that the state of Hawaii will provide the land. Okay, so that's their thing. And the partnership will solicit funds to build the first classroom. And that's the first classroom, the 2 lecture halls, the so many classrooms, blah, 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 labs. And whenever possible, construction funding will come from the private sector. This is not clear. And this coming year, it's putting aside $4 million. And the next fiscal year, it's putting aside $40 million from the CIP. It looks like this is written like it's going to come from county funds. Ms. Ford says not. But it says here, well, so
thank you, Jocelyn. We can move on to the next one.
Okay, so it's thoroughly confusing, and we have to be careful on how we craft our laws, because this becomes law. Future generations and council members might be tied to this law because they don't know the intent, and it's confusing and poorly written. It should have been a resolution. Now, Resolution 303, I was listening to it, and I just have to comment. I know a little bit about the history of this area. It's marginal land. This is that gentleman, I don't know his name, about the bees and the Port area. It's very marginal land. Not much can be grown there, not much agriculture. Now, Calvert trees, it's leguminous. It drops legume beans, and that's great for cattle. It's highly productive for the honey fields, and honey farming has been going on there for decades now. And the honey bees on the mainland have been decimated, and it is a very viable industry to supply honey, queen bees, a source of bees that have been isolated from the rest of the world. You know, we do have some problems with the bees here, but not like on the mainland where they have real problems with pollination because they don't have enough honeybees. The 3 minutes went up fast. I had more to say on the other one, but be careful, council members. You're going to commit future council members and generations to, on a technicality, saying that the county is going to fund $4 million for this project because it's not clearly written.
Thank you for your testimony. Let's go back to Barbara. Go ahead, Barbara. Your next testifier, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next testifier is Charles Collins, and he will be commenting on communication 862.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for your time and speak. I have a letter here from the governor dated September 21st, 2012. Dear Mr. Collins, thank you for your letter dated August 30th, 2012,
concerning the federal candidate election package. I was seeking a federal office, did not receive the packet for federal candidates from the Office of Elections. Your correspondence has been forwarded to the State Office of Elections. The Office of Elections will report back to the record, which no one has. All members of the council are elected officials. You know the trials and tribulations of running for office. There was some negligence here. I'm interested in arbitration. You know, I have here a copy of the Exhibit A Hawaiian arbitration rules. I'm just when this issue is more formalized, it was remanded to the Corporation Council by the Mayor's office yesterday as the appropriate person to address this, and that if it does come to a vote, as you all are politicians, this issue of arbitration rather than a tort litigation, that I would, humbly ask for your vote, that you would, vote in favor of arbitration rather than litigation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Barbara, your next testifier, please.
Our next testifier, and she is the last one that signed up so far, is Judith Moore, and she's speaking in support of Bill 292.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Councilman. Thank you for listening and for being there for us, hopefully. My name is Judith Moore. I lived in Hawaii for 30 years. I'm a homeowner here, or soon to be homeowner, but sadly, since I went into escrow, my property has depreciated drastically because of this new geothermal drill invention, which is really very sad because all these years of working hard for me to have a home that I can leave to my wonderful daughter is going out the window. I went to visit my parents in South America 2 years ago, and I was there for a year. And I was considering moving to South America. One of the things that really turned me off was the level of corruption and the level of people not feeling safe. I came to Hawaii running for shelter once again, and I'm finding Hawaii to be just, in our government especially, to be just as corrupt as South America. I'm putting all this on you guys because you do have the power to keep our land, our people safe, my investment safe, and the rest of the people's investments here on the Puna side. So I beg you to please do the very best that you can to oppose the drilling, even though I know that a lot of you are going to be paid greatly from this venture. But we count, and we are a community, and we are a residential community. I also live a mile away from geothermal, and I do hear the humming and the noise that you guys do nothing about. So I really would appreciate all of you taking your job seriously. I beg you, because this is on the table for you to do something about for the people. Thank you so much. Aloha.
Thank you for your testimony. Let's come back here to Kilo. At the table, we have Jennifer Ruggles, who speaks on Resolution 280-12.
Thank you. I'd also like to speak on 303-12, that's okay?
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you. Noelle Rodriguez had to leave, but she wanted me
me to mention that there's probably nothing more important that the council has voted on than for our nation and the pilot program of clean elections. She says that it's so important in the context of Citizen United that it's been supported by the League of Women Voters, Barack Obama, Jon Stewart, Nancy Pelosi, and Stephen Colbert, and that we are the ninth state with the antidote to our nation's illness. And like Law says, it puts us on the map. I'm also testifying in support of this. Politicians make decisions that affect us all on a very personal level. As far as what we can and can't do with our bodies in our own homes, how we treat each other, and what we can and cannot do as a society. And in the long run, it costs us a lot more to not have publicly funded campaigns. It costs us more when we have politicians making decisions based on short-term partisan gains rather than long-term public health. And it's better that we figure out a way to pay for elections now and get on a path to restoring democracy and restoring faith in democracy and our representatives and faith in the system and increase participation and pass this resolution. All this resolution is asking for is for equal funding of each district and just for the legislature upon convening the 2013 session to just take immediate action to fund the campaign spending commission so that we can continue this program, and just encourage them to figure out a way to do it. That's all. Okay, I'm done with that one. Okay, so for 30312, giving people outside of our island complete power over our land, giving a development corporation our land to make profit off of, is just really, really wrong. I'm very pleased to see the council hearing this resolution to abolish the PLDC because it demonstrates a diligence in feeding the will of the people and our Big Island community. And I feel it's very clear that the people of the Big Island do not want this. And it's obvious that if the county council does not abolish the PLDC and the PLDC proceeds, it would proceed in direct disregard of the people of the Big Island. So please abolish it.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Our next testifier is R.J. Hampton. R.J., I have 25 items listed here that you want to speak about, so I won't read all of these. So
what I'll do is make a transition into each one of them.
Thank you very
much.
much.
The first transition is, yes, I did, and I do have a comment and a position on every one of the agenda items. But the first one I'm going to do is peace, which kind of alleviates a lot of what else that in the future could happen if you pass and we get some kind of resolution going with what Pete said. Because I would love to have the opportunity to give video testimony because I can see how much more information. When I was last night up at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to prepare for this, I was like, God, if you could follow me through my trail as to what it is I'm concerned about, and that you could go to the website because you saw it, and you could play it back, you could get your legislative aides, go look at that, go look at that, go look at that. And I think, Pete, you're going home, you're going to do something else in your life, but I love you for that contribution, that thought. Whoever's idea it was, I applaud you. Please, let's go in that direction. And let us utilize our cable access and all of the other alternative media to align with all of your offices to make their services available, because as you see, there's Carrie and me and other people who are making a difference in getting the information out. Not just one side, but everybody's side, so that you can make good decisions in the future. So that's the one. So I'm transitioning now to effective a resolution 28012. 28012 is a deterrence program for youth alcohol. Now, I'm going to show you how I can take this resolution and I can take it over to your budgetary expenditures that you're going to do on all of those other things that Brenda, that you are putting, excuse me, but Chair, that your Councilwoman Brenda is putting through for all the rest of them over here, underage drinking, click-it-a-ticket, roadblocks, all of these things. They all have to do with this, but this resolution, let me give you some clues here, folks. There's some incredible people doing some incredible things out there for underage drinking, and some of them I kind of wrote down so that you could really get an idea about it, which is prevention strategies, which, you know, police are doing and everything. But as a community, we need to do more social networking. We need to get the word out, and we need parental responsibility ordinances and teen party ordinances parent's responsibility is when they have a party and underage drinking occurs. We need an ordinance that says, young people, if you decide to get, you got your driver's license, you're 16, 17 years old, you get behind that car and you drive, you get busted for drinking in that car, say goodbye to your license until you graduate college. And if you ain't going to college, then goodbye to your license until you're 22 years old and ready to make better decisions in your life. We need to concentrate on ordinances, council. We need to put teeth, excuse the expression, into the law so that people can see, I don't have a choice here. It's clear. And I'm not going to let you and your friends get me in trouble if you're a parent by having a party and everybody acting ignorant and then somebody drives home. I want to see more ordinances that are going to be put on the book that give us some teeth to the laws. And then you'll see all these other things where we're spending monies and everything. More people getting involved, more people understanding what their role is when you talk about all of this money that's coming down that we're giving to the police department to then give out to all the other people. We can take care of this ourselves. I would like to see that money spent in other directions other than in prevention and treatment. I would like to see it go to treatment, excuse me. I would like to go to see it to multiple offender programs for more social stuff. So now I'm transitioning over to, I didn't hear the bell. Did I hear the bell on that one?
You did.
I'm good. Okay, so now, Resolution 280. It's up to us. You can urge and urge and urge until the cows come home. But if we don't give up the $2, if we don't check that box off, if we don't have a campaign that says to people, you gotta care, you gotta share. If you want more money, you gotta divvy it up. Then, if we had some kind of way in which, if we start to give, you match, oh my goodness. But I don't know if they really wanted to work. I really don't know. I don't know what anybody wants anymore. I just know I do have these 3 minutes to tell you what I think. And I hope that when I tell you what I think, it's not that I'm trying to tell you what to do. I'm just opening up the door for more conversation. And that's what resolutions are supposed to do. Resolutions are supposed to open up the gateway for the solutions. Not a way in which we all kind of posture and say, okay, yeah, I did something about it. Yeah, I put it out there. Yeah, I put the consideration out there. But it shouldn't end there. And the beauty of these videotapes and everything is going to let people know, ooh, that was a good suggestion RJ had, or that was a good suggestion that Kerry had, or this man is coming up. Let's go and capitalize on it so that we're more prepared, just like your legislative aides have to be prepared to pass those legislation, put all the resolution, or everything has to be dotted on. We as a community can do that. So when we bring something to you, man, send it on up the pipe. This one's gonna fly. Or no, we're gonna work on this one, or you haven't considered this one. There's something else you need to think about. Okay, so that was $2, folks. Everybody just sign that little thing, say $2, and see the money go up. And then let's come up with something where they say, okay, and then I have a thing called inequity aversion. See, I was in the mental health field, so we have a thing called game theory. And I am an individual who's totally against inequity. I have an aversion for it. Every time I see it, even brings it to my head, I have to get crazy. You see me go crazy. When people aren't being treated the same, I have to stand up and say why. I'm a black person who never even took advantage of affirmative action. What I'm going to say to you is that everyone, no matter what their color, whatever their social strata is, when it comes to the decisions of this county, everybody's equal. And I hope that everybody in the future will treat us as such. Anyhow, let's move on. Work done. Team parties. I think I got that one. Curious about the cost of the copier. You know, part of, open transparency and everything is kind of knowing ballpark figures now, or even knowing what kind of copier, who you courting, what did you buy in the past, what you gonna buy in the future, what you got in mind. Would have been nice to at least have some kind of little something. I went looking, but 2 o'clock in the morning, and I have that question. I'm curious about how the copier company is selected. Is it a fair bidding process to put it out there? I really need to understand that, because I know when I was legislative aid, there's somebody else buying copiers. Can we maybe get a bunch, look at everybody's copiers and say, you need a copy? Because the longer you wait, the more it costs. Every day you wait to order something or tinker with it and fix it, technology goes up. And the one thing we do need is to keep up with the technology. So there we kind of get off on that and put it more in this area. So take a look at everybody's copy. See who else is not happy and try and get it all financed so we know where we're going next year and the year after that and the year after that down the line. Okay, coming on. Who read this thing? Resolution 2303-12. Not the resolution, but what it is we're talking about. To me, when I read it, when I went back and looked at Act 55, I said, damn, Neil. Well, you come all the way back from Washington, D.C. to make this land grab happen over our dead bodies. No, that's okay. Thanks, guys. It occurred to me last night, and I wrote down, who read this thing? This is so vague. This is so open. Hey, you're a lawyer, Mr. Yoshimori. You know what language means and what years do to language and what old laws made new, made old can do to a community. This bill is like being on a inner tube or an ice cube in the middle of the ocean. It seems solid, and I can see the buoys coming in, but we're melting fast here. And the governor is under the desk trying to pull rabbits out of his hat saying, hey, just hold on with me, you know. It's been going on for a long every one of you better read Land and Power because they predicted this day when the ships of power would change. And these are changing. Boy, this corporation that they put together, and you know it's an artificial person, thanks to the 14th Amendment. When they saved my people from slavery, they put us into slavery by giving corporations and greedy people the ability to represent themselves as if they're human beings. Let's not be like the rest of the world. Let's set a new pace, have a new dawn, a new day. Come on, guys. Those of you who are coming back, I'm excited. Those of you who are leaving, you're going to be out here talking like I am, hopefully. And we're going, I know some of you can't talk until the year goes by, but for those of you who know what's been going on, please, let's not sell it, let's tell it, let's get rid of it, let's keep it if it works. And I love you smiling faces. Let's keep going, RJ. And this is what happens when you have 37, and I got 3 minutes. I'm telling you, you know I'm an organizing fool. You're lucky I didn't bring in 10 more people with the same know as I have. And if I didn't write anything on it, I'm not going to go into it. So now we have 306. This is a new point. But I wanted to ask Onisha who we had in mind to hire and to run the elections, but we do have a state. We do have a state, thank God. And we do. I like that suggestion of you guys that aren't involved in it, really don't have nothing going on in it. You guys should go down there and help. I know it's embarrassing. I know it's embarrassing that we have to have the state come in. But I, as a mental health expert, and I will say that, I am a mental health expert. I know exactly what causes was made, and I know exactly what effects would happen. And I saw back in 2011, a simple thing as giving information to the county clerk became a good deal. And I made a video called Jingling Keys. And in 2011, in January, we walked into that office and tried to give that county clerk some information, and she told us we would have to go to corporation counsel because she couldn't accept service. And I said, is this the lawyer? Is this the county clerk who's going to take over and run things? When she can't even tell the difference between an informational packet that she's supposed to reproduce for every last one of you and simply put in your box. I know there's something going on like that in there. But nobody listens to me. So what I'm going to say is I've seen a lot. And I'm going to say that from now on, I'm going to tell it all. And I don't care who knows. Because those who are not guilty of malfeasance and deceiving this here community and meddling in other districts when they shouldn't be and standing alone when they should have another council person with them. Oh my gosh. And all of you have been involved with non-profits, and these people are coming up with all these newfangled ways to address different things like the building code and finance. Stop it. Utilize this. Airline resolution. Mr. Onishi, do better, hello. And I like those direct flights. I like it, but I want more of them. I don't know why Kona, but why not? But the other thing is I want to ask most of the Japanese tourists, do you intend to stay? Are you here to invest? Are you here to take advantage of our low prices? Are you speculating? Why are you here? For vacation? The volcano's over there. The real estate office is over here. The court counsel and everybody that you want to make a deal for so you can do whatever you do, they're not here anymore. You gotta talk to me. Talk about a reason and a shame. Women legal voters, thank you, because you're the only ones anybody's gonna listen to because you got authority and you got power. But I'm hoping that you all understand that we are being called, and I came here last time, we are the laughing stock of this nation. We are the laughing stock. And I'm not going to get into that because you all going to get into that when you go into executive session. And that's when I'm going to make my left, because I just don't. Visitor Center Education, farmers markets, all fine. Bill 255. Bill 292, geothermal notes. Everybody want to know where I go on that? Decommission the plant, because they can never keep their promises. To keep their promises is to assure their stockholders and dividend people that they are falling down on the job. What I'm going to say to you is geothermal drilling is not the way to go in this uncertain society. And I'll tell you something. We've been inundated by nuclear power and all the different things, and our health is already being compromised by the very environment in which we live. So we don't need no more in the form of additions. So if you're not going to decommission the plants, then you must do something about this noise. But I'm in agreement with you. I don't want you to pass this ordinance just yet. I'd like to see this one go back to committee. And I would like you to look at the established state law that exists, that they got their drilling permits under. Then I'd like you all to go and get yourself the Geothermal Exploration Developer's Handbook. And then I'd like you to go and do like I did, which is to then go and see what is your responsibility? Where do you fall into this? And that's why you can't pass this today. You can consider it, say it's a good idea, but you cannot say I'm going to do this. None of you. And I'm sorry, I know I'm going to take a lot of flack in the community for it, but doggone it. If you're going to pass a good law, make it a good law. Make it a law nobody's going to come back and throw in your face and say, hey, you say tight. Got a loop over here, a hole over there, because we don't want that. So I'm going to say, they talk about the time. I'm going to say, why don't you take this bill back and then kind of look at the time that the state says, because we got these times of 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and we've got 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., and the different rural districts and conservative districts and everything have different times for different decibels. And then I haven't heard one person on either side tell me what the heck is your data saying. So I'm supposed to study it. So everybody up here hasn't really told you anything yet. Say, Mike says we're not. And then another person says average. So think about all of these things and send this bill back, work on it. We've had it for 20 years, a few more weeks. But you pass this now, I think we're going to work out some kind of legal stuff, and the next thing you know, you're going to have a ton of lawyers, thank you, coming down on you because of contracts and other things. So you're stepping into ground teaching. I can see you feeling for it, but don't get your emotions. You're here, your job, what we pay you for is to write good legislation and to direct this county in a way in which we're going to avoid suits. Not bring them on, come on, it ain't me, come on, I'm protected, I got court counsel. Court counsel said what? Now, I don't know if we can take it on. Again, the roadblocks, the clicking ticket, the underage drinking, I would love to be spending money on other things, but again, Bill 301, 302, 303, these are all good, Ms. Ford, that you're bringing these back by request. I cannot, by request, I know who's at the bottom of this, and I'll be happy one day when the police department is not responsible for our social engineering or our social norms or anything else, that we as a community can set our own standards, and that we as a community can have kapunas and people who are models that will allow us to have a better society, okay? I don't know. I'm an austerity believer. I believe in cutting. I believe in not spending. I believe in, I'll take my lawnmower out there and mow that lawn for you if you need it mowed rather than you hiring somebody, because it's my part too. What I'm going to say is I'm talking about Bill 9296, and I'm saying that 1.5 million, well, got it. It's just fake money. And it's not money that I see us anywhere down the line being able to pay back or want to give or be able to be responsible for. And as things get and inflation goes up, is it enough money to do what you want to do? And this is a study, a budget traffic investigation study, a budget for distracted. We got distracted drivers, we got drivers who are aggressive, we got roadblocks, we got, okay, Jay, this I'm going to say, through the chair, this is why I was so against Bill 270, the building code, and what I was saying all along, it's not working, and you didn't think it all out, and you should have put in a solar chapter. We wouldn't be sitting here arguing today if you had listened to Ross and other people, and we put a solar chapter in that would have devised it. But this is what I want to say to everybody that thinks that the solar contractors out there are stupid. There are many people who spent a lot of money investing in learning how to put in solar, going to the classes, doing everything they need to do. Do you think I'm going to, as a homeowner, hire somebody that's going to go and mess up my roof? He's got insurance. If he mess up my roof, if he don't do it right, if the inspector comes by and says, who's the jerk that did this, RJ? I'm going back and I'm going to give him money. But to tell me I got to wait till somebody architect stamps in 2 weeks for this and 1 week for that, it's a simple thing to put up solar panels on a roof. In fact, they put up the frame so it doesn't even go into the roof, as you would say. They got all kinds of ways to make sure your roof is safe before they even do the project. Why don't we let these people with solar take some responsibility rather than always getting out in front and wanting to push the cart and making us under excessive regulations or anything else? All of this should have been discussed when we were discussing the building code, and I can prove to you that we wanted to do that. But instead, y'all was looking at the rule code, and you all looking at special interest, and you all out in our business, substandard this and how the house looks and what you want, but you didn't think about the solar. So now we're all stuck having to put it together now. Am I finished? I do believe, because I would be here for a whole half hour to 90 minutes. So let me see if I can go. Oh. This one's near and dear.
Before you, RJ, 1 second. Yeah, before you do anything, we are going to take, right after RJ, we are going to take Mr. Wessels. Thank you for being patient. And for the rest of the people here, we are going to be taking you back at 1:30, so just so that you folks know.
Well, in that case, how many more people would you be able to do if I got up out of the chair? Then never mind, I'm staying in my chair. Bill 283. Now, I know. Bill 283. I'm just going to say, I wrote down my little notebook, affordable housing, question mark. I'm going to say, when I read, I had to type it in and see, how did this occur? And 400,000 allocation from the federal government's going to come to the community, housing, whatever, and they're going to build one affordable housing unit. Now, I said to myself, housing unit, is that a whole bunch of units? Is that an apartment building? Or is that one house that is dedicated? I don't know. I'm ignorant that way. And $400,000 to have the word one after it and then affordable makes me wonder, how much is that house going to cost, and what does this county consider affordable? Because I built my house to see you, and it's legal. Yes, it's small and rustic, and it's final. And I spent more than $15,000 and I'm living quite happily. Running water, solar, everything, electricity, final, generator, all of it, just working. So I want to know what affordable means when you're in Kona as opposed to in Puna. And I want to know, what does this house, after you finish with all your administration and this person gets this and this person gets this and this permit gets fast track and this, who builds it, Habitat Humanity, and what happens? Who moves in? Some down and out millionaire? What are we doing here? So, either I'm misreading what I'm reading, or this agenda is not as clear as it should be, which is an Office of Information Practice violation, which we're trying to get to. Because I'm not really understanding how I, as a citizen, am supposed to understand this agenda when it's so vague. Last but not least, that's it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Our next testifier is Donna Wessel, and will be the last testifier before we do break for lunch. Sorry for giving up. Thank you so much for being patient, folks. But Mr. Wessel will be speaking on Resolution 303-12 and Resolution 280-12. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, she's a hard act to follow. First, I'll start with 280-12. When running for public elections, it depends on public money. Private money has much too much influence. Merging private money and public politics is the very definition of corruption. Let's clean up this corruption of our electoral system. Our public representatives should be beholden to public interest, not that of their private benefactors. A comprehensive system of public funding so that our public representatives is dependent on the public to get elected, not the deep pockets of money elite. Please pass this resolution 280-12. And now for resolution 303-12. The PLDC is clearly designed to expedite the economic interests of private corporations. It is a disgusting and thinly disguised pillage of Hawaiian heritage and the corruption of the rule of law to benefit a few big businesses. The 1.8 million acre land trust under the authority of the state of Hawaii to the DNR should not be run for the benefit of developers. The PLDC is a perversion of Republican government that usurps the authority of this county council and the councils throughout the state of Hawaii. The PLDC assumes some of this county's authority in favor of state revenues and private developers. It is my intention to root out this corrupt political philosophy that venerates the corporate form, the so-called free market, and greed. It is the idea that somehow people who have lots of money are just and righteous leaders who are going to benefit us all. The PLDC institutionalizes the notion that short-term greed for a few will somehow magically provide the long-term needs of the many. Greed is not good. Greed is not good for we the people. Greed is not good for the Aina. Greed is a grievously immoral way to run a society any way you cut it. The PLDC represents what is at the core of what is wrong with America's body politic. The PLDC is short-sighted policy and illegitimate government. And I, for one, expect to fight this in the political dogma from which it is built, and see to it that our elected representatives who espouse such beliefs no longer hold office and their policies are relegated permanently to the waste bin of legislative history. Corporations are not people, and they are not our partners in public government. The Public Land Development Corporation is legalized theft. It is the theft of land. It is the theft of local authority. It is the theft of our corporate authority, of your corporate authority as the Hawaii County Council. Send a message to the state that you, the elected representatives of the County of Hawaii, will not sit still while the state of Hawaii hands over your authority, given to you to work for me and everyone else on this beautiful island, to the authority of the state of Hawaii and to the large private institutions. Repeal the PLDC and corporate personhood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your testimony. Hey, we had a couple more people sign up just now. Okay, so, folks, we're going to have about 16 more testifiers. So at 1:30, when we come back after lunch, we'll take the 16 testifiers, and then we're going to be taking up the PLDC item first, and then Bill 292, and then 311-12.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So thank you very much. We are in recess. We'll be back at 1:30. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
How was it?
It was really good. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was a really nice ceremony.
Yeah?
Yeah, I almost brought it in and stuff. I was really tempted, and I'm like, no, that's a little bit too obvious. So, pretty proud of it, though. RJ. Because, last time we
See you tomorrow night.
Okay.
At
Yes.
coffee.
Coffee, yes. 6:30. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I had already